Minister, honored experts, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, and I would say friends in the field of precision medicine. It's already for the third consecutive year on behalf of the organizational committee and Children's Hospital. It's my true pleasure to welcome you all to this already annual gathering. I do believe, as I said yesterday, that these days Riga becomes the European capital for precision medicine, where friends, colleagues, thought leaders, partners meet to share their views and ideas. With 50 plus speakers from 400 plus registered participants from 20 plus countries, we look forward for a really very intensive and fantastic 2 days with multiple sessions, including parallel sessions. I noticed that we will run 3 to 4 parallel sessions, so it will be a challenge to make a good choice what to attend. These days we celebrate not only the achievements in precision medicine, but most of all the collaborative spirit. And that spirit defines this gathering. Riga once again is buzzing with some of the brightest minds in healthcare and precision medicine. And we are united by the common goal to drive innovations and transform the patient care as we know it. This is networking forum. This is not symposium, this is not just a conference, it's a networking forum. And therefore the true measure of success will be the strengths we add to that network. We continue to build year on year. It will be networking for all, for academia, for healthcare, for industry, for government, for NGOs, and patient representatives. Please do not miss these opportunities to strengthen our network. Throughout this conference, we will engage in meaningful discussions, share valuable insights, collaborate on strategies, everything that shapes the future of precision medicine. We will explore and celebrate the latest advancements, breakthroughs, and I should say revolutionary potential of precision medicine and healthcare. Our shared dedication to personalizing treatment for every individual patient holds the promise for transforming the healthcare in the future. And no matter where discussion takes us, let's always keep our mission at the forefront. And that mission is serving our patients. Because the goal of this network is to drive advancement and implementation of precision medicine, ultimately enhancing patient care and enhancing or improving patient treatment outcomes. So I encourage everybody to participate very actively, to engage in discussions, to build connections, and to drive the progress on the individual and collective level. So I would like to extend my special thanks to our host, National Library. Hope you enjoyed it. Sponsors, Latvian Investment and Development Agency, Illumina, Roche, Novartis, and the dedicated members of organizing committee, whose tireless efforts have made this event possible. And of course, my deepest appreciation goes to each of you here today. Your participation and engagement is what makes this event a value. Thank you for being part of this important event, and I look forward for the exciting 2 days. Thanks. I'm not leaving the stage yet, as I will be moderating this first half. And now, it's my great honor to introduce a guest who is playing and will play a significant role in advancing precision medicine on a national level. We are pleased to welcome a dedicated physician, politician, and strong advocate for improving healthcare through the innovative and personalized approaches. So Latvian Minister of Health, Hosams Meri, has been focusing on a healthcare policy from the start of his role, helping to shape the future and basically the outlook of our system. Under his leadership, we experienced already the significant investments in a healthcare system, but also in development of policies, which will certainly help more patients to have an access to the best possible care. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Hosams.
Good morning. First of all, I would like to say that I'm very delighted to be here for my second time. Very often in Latvia, the Minister of Health at the average in the office not more than 1 year. So I'm in the beginning of my second year, and it's a good actually sign and signal for me that I'm going to work maybe for 1 more year in my post. Dear friends, dear colleagues, experts, professors, Rector, Valts, guests, medicine seems to be one of the sectors that constantly works in an uninterrupted process of change. Technologies, science, needs and expectations of society continuously create new tools, medicines, treatment methods, and access to healthcare. Currently, the demographic situation across Europe and the constraint of national budgets again require a review of how healthcare services are organized. I believe that Latvia's response to these challenges lies in precision medicine. Our healthcare system needs to be more flexible in adopting new approaches to use available resources more effectively, ensuring the best healthcare of our citizens. I'm convinced that precision medicine is no longer just a future prospect. It already makes significant contributions to modern healthcare. I cannot stand here and not to mention our Children's Clinical University Hospital, which has taken a leadership role in this area in collaboration with the Prinses Maxima Center in the Netherlands, the leading pediatric oncology center in Europe. They are establishing the Center of Excellence for Precision Medicine in Pediatrics in Latvia, aiming to make Latvia a leader in pediatric care in the Baltics. But we need to think broader to adapt treatment and prevention methods based on individual genetic characteristics, lifestyles, and also life stages. Latvia is on the path to a value-based healthcare system that will not only improve patient quality of life, but also use healthcare resources more efficiently, especially during challenging times such as the current period marked by post-pandemic and economic instability. The development of precision medicine allows us to think even more strategically, and this could become a breakthrough for Latvian innovation and the economy, particularly in the field of biomedicine. Latvia could become an important player in the international scientific and technological development, not only creating new jobs, but also offering high-value products and services which would contribute to the economic growth and international competitiveness of our country. Encouraging science and innovation in this area will bring long-term benefits to both our people and our country. And I would also like to thank here Riga Stradins University for organizing the annual health hackathon during this forum, inspiring new ideas for our health care system. I hope that this forum will give you an additional ideas, an additional, let's say, hope for a better future in precision medicine, and mainly for our excellence healthcare system in Latvia and all over the world. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you for the good and encouraging words. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the key partner in organizing this Precision Medicine Conference, and that's Riga Stradins University, represented by its rector, Aigars Petersons. RSU plays a vital role in driving innovation, in driving research, in driving collaborations with academic and healthcare communities. The university's team has been absolutely instrumental in shaping the conference agenda and ensuring it highlights really the latest advancements in precision medicine. So please join me in warmly welcoming the Rector of Stradins University, colleague of mine from Children's University Hospital, Professor Aigars Petersons.
Good morning, everybody. Dear Mr. Chairman, dear participants of this networking meeting, invited speakers, professors, medical doctors, students, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure and honor to be today here in our National Library of Latvia. I would like to welcome you all on behalf of the administration of Riga Stradins University during opening session of the third Precision Medicine Networking meeting in Riga, in Latvia. More than 50 international experts from all the world, from the United States, from Scandinavian countries, from Baltics, from all the Europe, medical doctors, innovators, IT specialists, academic staff members, industry partners, scientists, look our program. The program of networking meeting is great. Scientific sessions, hackathons, discussion platforms, so many activities, workshop, and we are great for this job, and this job is done. And I would like to thank local organizers for organizing such interesting meeting in Riga, in Latvia, the third time. Third time, it's a young tradition, and we really hope that we will continue this tradition, and we will meet you all next year during the fourth meeting of precision medicine in Riga, in Latvia. Of course, we know the development of medicine in the world is very fast due to rapid development of innovations of technologies, in particular in precision medicine. But we all today have the common goal: how to improve our results in the diagnostic, in the treatment of different pathologies using precision medicine. But unfortunately, this development of precision medicine is not yet available in all countries, in all institutions of healthcare in Europe. Of course, we will work together for these 2 days, and I would like to thank today one of the authors of the development of precision medicine in Latvia, our great friend and colleague, Mr. John Tully. Dear John, you know your contribution is very significant, not only for our patients, not only for our medicine, not only for our patients' family members. Your contribution is significant for all our medicine, for our society, for our country. Thank you for collaboration, and thank you for your support during last years. Dear friends, dear colleagues, I would like to wish you all a creative, successful networking meeting. I hope our discussions, our innovations, our conversations will be very active, very creative. Good luck for all. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Rector. And now I'm pleased to introduce a guest who represents an institution playing a vital role in our nation's development. And we are eager to hear from Mr. Edvards Francis Kuks, who are representing today the Ministry of Education and Science. The Ministry stands as a strong advocate for innovation and development initiatives for cutting-edge technologies, including the precision medicine. So the vision is for advancing research and innovation, and that's closely aligned with the immense growth potential of precision medicine. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Edvards Francis Kuks.
Thank you. Dear Minister, dear Rector, dear practitioners, researchers, and conference guests, it is my pleasure to address you on the plenary of PMNET 2024, which is, as several have already said, a new tradition, a budding tradition here in Riga, that is already strengthening collaboration in precision medicine research. And I would like to focus on, in this brief address, on the strength of collaboration in research, because this forum will mark several significant collaborations, not least of which between Riga Stradins University, the Children's University Hospital, and the Children's University Hospital Fund. But also I would like to highlight in specific the signing of the consortium between the consortium agreement between the Children's Clinical University Hospital and the Princess Maxima Clinic to develop the Center of Excellence for Precision Medicine in Pediatric Care. This project signifies the strength not only of Latvian researchers, but also the strength of our collaborative links on European level, and supported with a major investment by the EU in Teaming for Excellence. This is, I could say, flagship achievement of Latvian researchers and institutions in Horizon Europe thus far. In research, we are already well on our way to achieving our goal of at least 150 million euro in co-funding from Horizon Europe. Latvian researchers' success rate is on par with our Baltic colleagues, but we see that it is critical for us to increase our participation, and that can only be done through strengthening our collaborative links throughout Europe and beyond. On national level, we are happy that the Ministry of Health has supported a national research program in the field of public health last year. The outcomes of translational research will benefit society, especially when they are integrated into the health system through effective policy making. Therefore, it is important that we imbue policy making with research-based results. Precision medicine today covers all phases of life, from pre-birth to end of life. So personalization affects the full spectrum, from diagnostics and intervention, from preventative medicine, through full range of acute and chronic diseases. And there is a place for research in all of these steps, and there is a place for research collaboration in each of these steps. This forum is a meaningful step in strengthening these links and in establishing Riga as a center for precision medicine. I wish you all a productive and exciting forum, and indeed that this tradition continues for many years. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now, it's my great pleasure to introduce the key driving force behind this Precision Medicine Forum, our main charitable contributor, initiator of this forum, John Tully, who shows a deep commitment for advancing the health and research nationally and internationally. John has generously given his resources, passion, and dedication to make this networking forum possible. So his charitable efforts have had significant impact on precision medicine introduction in Latvia, enabling also the research, technological innovations, and the sharing of knowledge. Today's conference is proof of John's vision. So I'm personally very grateful for your commitment to improving pediatric oncology care and driving the progress in precision medicine. So please join me in expressing our heartfelt gratitude to John Tully, whose dedication to this cause continues to inspire at least me. So John, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Walt, and thank you, Aigars, for the kind words. The most important people here at this event are you, the participants, the scientists, the researchers, the practitioners, and we're here to support you, to network, communicate, spread the word, and of course, our most important people is about the children and the medical patients and the ones that need this new technology. I don't want to slow things down so we can move forward on the networking and the presentations and the work here today and tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks. John? John, could you please stay on the stage for just a short moment? So last week we celebrated, the Children's University Hospital celebrated 125th anniversary. And that was truly remarkable milestone. So, and once in every 5 years, we present the highest honor of our hospital. It's called Andrejs Prietkalns Award to those whose contribution has been really crucial for the hospital growth and success. So this year, we recognized 4 outstanding individuals, but only 3 were able to attend the event in person. So since you were out of the country during the ceremony, it's my great pleasure to present this award to you now, because over the past 9 years, you have been absolutely indispensable support for the patients in urgent need. You've been key force for the hospital progress and a major contributor to our future development. So you are not just a partner, but a dear friend to the hospital. So John, thanks you so much, and I'm going to do it now. As mentioned earlier, this event is about building stronger networks, partnerships, and international collaborations. And to highlight this, we are marking again the important occasion with a ceremonial signing. That will be important collaboration project between the Children's University Hospital, Riga Stradins University, Children's Hospital Fund, and Latvian Children's Oncology Fund. And the goal of this collaboration is to attract the leading international experts and rising star researchers to strengthen the research capacity of both the Children's University Hospital and Riga Stradins University, driving the progress specifically in the pediatric care and advancing the field of pediatric oncology. So I now invite representatives of the organizations to join us on the stage for the ceremonial signing. And these signatures will mark the new bonds, I would say additional synapses that will strengthen cooperation between those 4 partners of our shared precision medicine ecosystem, which you have on a screen here. So please. Okay, but before we proceed, we have something deeply personal and moving to share with you. So we will now hear from the mother whose child has faced unimaginable challenges of pediatric cancer. Her story reflects not only the personal struggles for the family, but also the hope, the strength they find in the care, the strength they find in support of the medical community. And this video is a really powerful reminder of why our work here is so important. It highlights really the very impact also of the advanced pediatric oncology, the impact that can have the changing strengths on the lives of the children and their families. So please, your attention to the screen.
Sintijai šobrīd ir 8 gadi, viņa iet 1. klasītē, bet diagnozi neiroblastomu 4. stadijā viņai atklāja 2020. gada novembrī mēs tikām pie diagnozes, bet visi tie simptomi galvenokārt bija temperatūra, kas nepārgāja. Visi citi bērni bija jau atgriezušies skolā, bērnu dārzā, man Sintī vēl slimoja. Nu, un tā arī tā temperatūra turējās diezgan ilgu laiku, līdz pat 38, un nokļuvām šeit vienības gatavas slimnīcā, 9. nodaļā, kur ārsti arī ņēma dažādas analīzes, sūtīja pārbaudīt, kas tas ir. Katru reizi, kā nāca, viņi saka, nav nekas jauns, nav ko jaunu pateikt. Un beigās jau, kad Sintī cieta briesmīgas sāpes, viņai bija temperatūra un viņai sāpēja galva un kājas. Sintī uztaisīja magnētisko rezonanci visam ķermenim un tad ieraudzīja, ka galvā ir 2 veidojumi. Tos izeparēja, uztaisot biopsiju, sapratām, ka tā ir neiroblastoma. Un 4. novembrī mēs jau bijām 10. nodaļā. Un tad 10. nodaļā māsiņas vakarā izsauca sāpju dakteri un Sintijai ielaida morfiju. Ārprāt, cik es biju priecīga, kad 2 nedēļas nebiju dzirdējusi, kā viņa runā. Viņa tikai kliedza, sāpēs, un es neko nevarēju palīdzēt. Un tad, kad viņa ielaida to morfiju, viņa sāka ar maniem runāt, cik es jutos laimīgi. Bet sākās ļoti daudz ķīmijterapijas. Sintija no 10. nodaļas mājās tika uz 2 vai 3 dieniņām tikai, un tad braucām atpakaļ, jo tie kursi bija ļoti, ļoti intensīvi. Pēc protokola Sintijai bija 1 bloks ar ķīmijām, tad bija atkal kaut kādas ķīmijas, tad atkal kaut kādas ķīmijas, un bija jābrauc, bija paredzēts ārstēšanās plānā, ir paredzēts, kad jābrauc uz Lietuvu cilmes šūnu transplantāciju, savas šūnas jāsavāc, un pēc tam viņas transplantē. Bet mums nekādīgi neizdevās, jo visu laiku kaulu smadzenēs Sintijai rādījās 1% tās ļaunās šūnas. Mēs aizbraucām uz Lietuvu, uz Viļņas slimnīcu, savākt tās šūnas, bet viss ievilkās nedaudz vairāk, jo Sintijai tās šūnas neražojās, vajadzēja vēl vienu ķīmiju. Tad mēs iegājām palātā, un tur stāvēja Viļņas dakteri, un viņi saka, mamīt, apsēdieties, es nezinu, kā jūs šo ziņu panesīsiet, vai nu labi, vai slikti. Un tad viņi man saka, mums zvanīja daktere Valaine, Jums ir atrasta terapija. Jums šodien ir jādodas mājās un rīt ir jāiestājas vienības gatvē slimnīcā. Es biju priecīga, man vēl joprojām ir zosādi. Es biju ļoti, ļoti priecīga. Man māsiņa pajautāja, cik ilgā laikā jūs savāks. Es teicu, stunda, un mēs esam prom. Cinti ir pirmais bērns Latvijā, kurai veic šo te imūnterapiju. Un, ja es nemaldos, ja es pareizi atceros, kad viens imūnterapijas kurs maksāja ap 200,000 eiro. Bet tā pirmā imūnterapija, tā bija tāda ļoti bailīga. Gan dakteriem tas bija kas jauns, man kaut kas jauns, un arī māsiņām kaut kas jauns. Tās pirmās 2 dienas Cintī to imūnterapiju ļoti labi panesa, bet 3. dienā viņai jau sāk trūkt skābeklis. Tad nācās to imūnterapijas, to zāļu palaišanas ātrumu samazināt. Un tad, kad atrada to Cintijai piemērotāko zāļu palaišanas ātrumu, tad mums viss bija kārtībā. Ir ļoti liels atbalsts bijis gan no māsiņām, māsu palīgi, vispār. Komanda ir vienkārši brīnišķīgi cilvēki, kuriem tiešām var uzticēties, kas palīdzēs.
I believe this has been a very strong reminder to ourselves of the difference we can make together through the joint efforts in advancing therapies for children battling the cancer. But now, it's my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker of today, the Professor Dr. Stefan Pfister, one of the most distinguished figures in pediatric oncology and neurooncology. So Professor Pfister serves as a director of Preclinical program in the Children's Cancer Center in Heidelberg. He heads the division of Pediatric Neurooncology in the German Cancer Research Center. He is also deputy head for both KiTZ Clinical Trial Unit and the Pediatric Brain Tumors at the Heidelberg University Hospital in Germany. So Professor Pfister is pioneering the work that has been at the forefront to advance the molecular tumor diagnostics, specifically in pediatric cancer care. So his efforts not only, I should say, revolutionize how we understand and treat childhood brain tumors, but also have a globalized access to this state-of-art molecular diagnostics. So today we are honored to hear from Professor Pfister as he shares his insights on a topic, globalizing access to state-of-art molecular tumor diagnostics. This is an incredibly timely topic and vital topic, and we are all eager to learn from this experience. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Stefan Pfister to the stage.
Thank you very much for this warm welcome, and also congratulations on the ecosystem, as you called it, that you have generated here, and also with the pace you're moving, which I think is really impressive. Since I'm a pediatric oncologist myself, actually the movie that you just showed is essentially what motivated me to do pediatric oncology, and particularly to go into research, because I think we cannot really get stuck where we are at the moment, but rather have to advance the field to really improve the rates of care, but also the rates of outcomes, and think about how we can do this systematically. And
I think any precision medicine starts with the right diagnosis. This is the only way that we can personalize or stratify medicine. And I want to talk today about one topic that is something that we have been dealing with for more than 10 years now, which is focusing on brain tumors. But I think, I hope that a lot of this can also be transferred conceptually to other diseases. So I will start by giving you, for all of you who are not so familiar with brain tumors, a very short introduction into how brain tumors have been diagnosed until very recently and where we are moving at the moment. And then I'll really give you some examples and concepts how this field has advanced over the last 10 years or so. And then in the next phase, how we can now basically roll out these new concepts to other places in the world that are less privileged than us when it comes to resources in the health system. I will finish off with a vision for 2030, and this will be continued in the second talk that I'm giving today, and hopefully you will be interested in this as well. So the basic principles of pathology have always been along the same questions. So which type of tumor are we looking at? What is the malignancy or grading of it? Can we infer the prognosis of the patient? And ideally, from an oncologist perspective also, can we learn from the diagnosis or from the diagnostic readout how this patient should be treated? And all of this actually is reflected by cells that are differentiating along a certain cellular lineage. And traditionally, obviously, this has been assessed by a pathologist looking down the microscope, probably even looking at the macroscopic tumor in the first place and then the microscopic tumor in the second phase, and utilizing all of the background knowledge and pattern recognition capabilities of this person to actually come up with the best possible diagnosis. When you look, and this is an example now of brain tumors, into different tumor types, you realize that they are obviously associated with different outcomes. And when you think about the fact that sometimes pediatric high-grade gliomas, but also adult high-grade gliomas that are associated, known to be associated with a very poor prognosis, it can be very difficult to distinguish them down the microscope from low-grade gliomas. You immediately realize that sometimes the microscope is no longer or should no longer be the only tool for the diagnosis to be established. And that has pretty much been the case up until 2016, that most of the brain tumor diagnosis, according to the WHO classification that we have been using until then, were mostly done based on microscopic appearance and H&E readouts down the microscope, and very strongly dependent on the experience of the individual pathologist who basically utilized this microscope. And we very strongly felt as a field that there should be kind of a systematic and mandatory component of molecular workup also included in the diagnostic process. And that's basically where it all started, and where we started to utilize molecular techniques that were coming up at that time to complement the morphology and other informations that we collect. Because in the end, the diagnosis should not only include what the pathology tells us, but also, and we have a pediatric surgeon sitting here, what the surgeon has experienced in the operation room, and they have a good feeling sometimes on the tumor that they are operating on, what the radiologist has seen on the MRIs, but also what the biology of the tumor tells us. And we very early started out to ask the question, what actually the pathologist is typically doing is looking at a tissue and very much judging upon the similarity of a tumor tissue with a normal tissue. And this is why we have terms like glioma or epineumoma, which are related to the original tissue or the original cell type these tumors are derived from. And when you think about our genome, we will have all learned at some stage that in principle every cell in our body should have the same genetic code. But yet we have very different cell types and very different tissues in our body. So while a muscle cell and a liver cell in the same body have the same underlying genome sequence, they have a very different epigenome, which is actually regulating the expression of certain genes in a cell type specific way. And that is, and back then this was a hypothesis we thought could be very well utilized for tumor classification, because essentially the tumor not only has a memory of the individual in which it grows, which is the genome sequence, but also has a memory of the cell type it originated from, which is the epigenetic memory. And it turns out that, for instance, DNA methylation patterns, which are one readout of this epigenetic code, actually are indeed very distinctive of different cell types, but also that the tumors that are derived from certain cell types have a very precise and good and lasting memory of their cellular origin, which is underlined in the methylation patterns in these tumors. So if you look across the genome, where obviously you have millions and millions of CpG sites that can be either methylated or unmethylated in the DNA code, you would basically see different patterns in tumors like this. So looking at 5 different brain tumors, you get 5 different methylation patterns, and you can look at this in a genome-wide fashion. And one of the strengths of this is also that methylation is typically bimodal, so it's either methylated or unmethylated, so it's not a gray zone like you have often in gene expression, which makes it also very suitable for AI and machine learning readouts to be utilized for classification. So actually, if you try to now sort these tumors according to similarity, you see that there are 2 patterns on the left-hand side that are more similar to each other, and 3 patterns on the right-hand side that are more similar to each other. So in principle, every single tumor type has a unique methylation profile, but we have patterns, and this is very similar as pattern recognition in the morphology. Now we have molecular patterns that can be recognized that allow us to group tumors together in that way. So in this example, you would basically postulate that B and D are belonging to one group, and A, C, and E are belonging to another group. And when you then basically utilize this grouping and go back to also look into the genetic aberrations that are driving these tumors, very often you also find genetic alterations that are very closely reflected or very specific to one of the tumor types that you have identified by the methylation patterns. In this case, one of the groups have this histone mutation, which is a prototypic mutation in pediatric high-grade gliomas, and the other one has a BRAF fusion, which is a prototypic genetic aberration in low-grade gliomas. So when you summarize this as a concept, you would basically postulate that between a normal cell and a tumor cell, obviously we know that genetic changes are happening. However, the methylation pattern, and these are the red dots here, so the epigenome of these cells actually remain very stable across the entire evolution of a tumor. And this is why they are so suitable for tumor classification, because even a distant metastasis from a primary tumor in the brain has a very similar methylation pattern, because it's still very much reminiscent of the cellular origin of the tumor, rather than something that is dramatically changing during tumor evolution. And we have been working on identifying these new tumor types and also subgrouping tumor types for many years, until a point where we asked ourselves the question, if we had a complete reference cohort of all the different molecular brain tumor types that are existing, and then had one individual methylation profile of one patient, would we be able to accurately put this one individual patient sample into this reference cohort, and would this add to the accuracy of the diagnostic process? And that was like 6 years ago when we first published this, what we called Heidelberg brain tumor classifier back then, where we had about 80 different molecularly defined brain tumor types included, but also all the different normal tissue samples. And we actually trained an AI-based classifier, machine learning classifier, to help us predicting for one individual patient sample where this would belong to in this whole reference cohort of 80 different classes. And we could calibrate this down to an error rate of around about 1%, which is way, way below showing 3 neuropathologists the same tumor sample across many different diseases. And then we actually did an experiment where we prospectively enrolled patients at a research setting at that time into the system. And in about 3/4 of cases, we found exactly the confirmation of what the neuropathologist had said. In about 12%, we found a change of diagnosis that would change the treatment approach that we are taking in a clinical setting. In another 12% of cases, the algorithm would tell us, I don't know what it is. So this is something extremely rare, or there is a sampling issue, or there is a high component of normal tissue that was sampled also. And then we basically went back to the initial diagnostician, so the pathologist in charge, and actually asked them, what would you diagnose if you had known this molecular information at the time you have established the diagnosis? And in the vast majority of cases, the neuropathologist would say, well, I would now change my diagnosis to the molecularly predicted diagnosis, and only these few cases here in red, the pathologist would have said, no, I would stick to my original diagnosis. The molecular pattern doesn't make any sense to me. Obviously, this was monocentric, so we basically went on and also were asked, obviously, by reviewers, how would this perform if you did that in other centers around the world. So we basically had another 5 centers across Europe and North America doing the same thing. And ironically, even in this second cohort of like 400 patients, the re-diagnosis rate was again 12%, even in very experienced neuropathology departments in the US and in Europe. So we basically really thought that this would be something that we should offer to the community, and we put this algorithm on a website. And everyone in the world can just upload their methylation profiles of brain tumors that they have generated as a research use only tool at this stage, and basically submit the data, get an email with a PDF attachment with the molecular classification, also the score, so the likelihood of this from the algorithmic perspective to be the correct diagnosis, copy number plot, and so on. We basically, we were ourselves really surprised about the take-up of this. So by today, we actually have more than 150,000 uploaded brain tumor profiles to this website. We now have more than 170,000 profiles in our database. And actually, we also asked the community, if possible, to agree for the secondary use of the data that they are actually uploading, and in more than 3/4 of cases, they actually have agreed. And this also brings us into a position now where we basically can accurately classify brain tumors that are very rare, that a neuropathologist would probably see once in their lifetime. So it's not even possible anymore to memorize a morphological pattern down the microscope and think about it again 30 years later when you get the second tumor of this type. So we think that this is a very strong way of moving things forward. And this is also really adopted almost all across the globe. You will see immediately that the global south is pretty much missing here, and this is, I will come back to at the end of my presentation. So what we have learned up until then was just basically research use and a bit biased collection of samples, because we have obviously only utilized the ones that came in our center and some of the other large centers across the world. So we basically conducted a blinded study in Germany, Switzerland, and Australia, where we actually did the methylation analysis and the panel sequencing of tumor and blood in a blinded fashion with the reference pathology, and then compared. So these were the participating centers, so almost 100 centers who participated in this, 1,000 patients enrolled prospectively. And whenever there was a discrepancy between the pathology, the conventional pathology workup, and the molecular workup, we basically initiated a case discussion in a teleconference. And Dominik Sturm, who has really driven this trial, which was published last year, basically found a few very interesting things. One of them being that there is a significant proportion of what was called a glioblastoma or high-grade glioma in the first place down the microscope, which turned out molecularly to be looking like a low-grade glioma. And you remember the Kaplan-Meier plot that I showed you on one of the first slides, how different the prognosis of these patients is and how relevant it is to know whether it's a high-grade glioma or a low-grade glioma. So actually, when using this prospective blinded population-based data now, there was a clear difference between a WHO grade 3 and a WHO grade 4 tumor in terms of outcome. But when you look into the molecular layer, and these tumors were all originally diagnosed as high-grade glioma, which basically, as the pediatric oncologists here would know, is telling the family, we don't have any curative treatment option and your kid will probably die from this disease. And you can see that amongst this group of high-grade gliomas, there are significant proportions and subgroups that actually have a very good prognosis. And so now, after collecting this clinical follow-up data, we are pretty sure that what we would call a molecular low-grade glioma is in fact also behaving as a low-grade glioma rather than a high-grade glioma, as it may look down the microscope. So this is why we think this can be exemplified as a clinical tool as well now. It also works in other entities. This is an example of sarcomas, because the principle of this memory of the tumor, this epigenetic memory of the tumor, obviously holds true across all the different cell types. Just want to show you also one example from the adult space that is also illustrative, because people, even like myself, who are non-pathologists, can tell that there is a huge difference between this and this, but both of these are parts of the same tumor. And you would probably, if you were a pathologist, diagnose this as an oligodendroglioma and this as an astrocytoma, which are, again, two different tumor types, two different treatments, and so on. So, but sometimes these two patterns occur in the same tumor. So that was the reason why at some stage the pathologists decided to call them oligoastrocytoma, because this is what they saw down the microscope. But if you look into the biology of these tumors, they always know what they are. They are either an oligodendroglioma or they are an astrocytoma, even despite the fact that they have some distinguished differentiation. And this can be also now done by the methylation analysis. You also see in the copy number analysis that you can derive from the same data set that this one P19Q deletion, which is very prototypic for an oligodendroglioma but never occurring in an astrocytoma, can be also read out. We can, even from the methylation data and the copy number data, predict that this tumor will have an IDH mutation, because they always have IDH mutations, and they have a methylome that is very strongly influenced by this IDH mutation. So I'm skipping this one. Basically, what we have seen is that on the one hand side, we basically can utilize this now for clinical decision making, but also we still have discoveries that can be made. And now, when looking into 170,000 brain tumor profiles, you can really zoom into these little islands, and this is just one example here where you can basically identify a little island of very similar methylation profiles. And in the copy number profiles of those, we see that they have very highly recurrent genetic aberrations as well that we never experienced in any brain tumors. So what we have seen over and over again is that specific cell types at specific times of differentiation have specific vulnerabilities to genetic hits. So there's very often a very close correlation, which also makes sense because not every cell type will be sensitive to the same genetic aberrations. So we also could turn it around by saying, what if we had a very unusual genetic finding and to look for similar tumors? And actually this happened when we found the first ALK fusion in a brain tumor, which was never described before. And then we went back to our very large database of methylation profiles, and sure enough, we identified a whole bunch of additional tumors that had a very similar methylation profile, but also an ALK translocation as a genetic hallmark. So this was the basis for the WHO classification for CNS tumors to also really focus on molecularly guided definitions, and even in the introduction of the WHO classification to mention the methylation analysis as one important tool. And this is just from the last update, so the 5th edition of all the new tumor types that were introduced. And as you can see in orange, almost all of them are molecularly defined or sometimes even defined by their methylation profile. We actually realized at some stage that we cannot leave the community with this as kind of a research use only tool. So we also span off a company to actually develop this into a CE marked and an FDA approved product, and that's currently underway. We also are working in alternative methods, and we think that, and this is work by Ariba Patel and Felix Sam from neuropathology, that nanopore-based technology will help us to also get into this into a very short time frame, so probably even can be used as a frozen section in the years to come, because now we can run the methylation analysis and targeted sequencing within 90 minutes or so on some of these small devices. We have started an international registry to collect more systematically the clinical follow-up data of all the profiles that get uploaded to the website. And I want to finish by showing very quickly the outreach consortium that we have started to really also involve countries from the global south, not only because we think that this is important since it's now in the WHO classification, but also, and I want to really highlight this here, is that most of the data that we have ever generated as a community in cancer genome sequencing actually are from European and North American populations, which comprise less than 20% of the world population, but 91% of all cancer genome data. So we also have a massive benefit of collecting this data and generating this data in other places in the world. So there is really a win-win situation here. And we have some peculiarities here, for instance, different ages in populations, and which is very different in the global south. We also have regions with very high consanguinity rates, which have completely different patterns of diseases, founder mutations, like you have all heard about. And so this is why we started out to this consortium which consists of a training part where the groups are invited to come to Heidelberg to get a wet lab and also bioinformatics training on the methodology. This is just how this looked like. And we also actually since yesterday have launched a website on this, which you might want to have a look at, which basically illustrates how this is now also reaching the countries in the global south. Very final remark, just in terms of vision in 2030, I think one of the things that we have all experienced in pediatric oncology, but also in adult oncology, that we are typically running behind things. And I think we really have to also think of how ways how we will be able to apply secondary prevention, detect premalignant lesions, even in conditions that are not driven by the known environmental factors that are preventable. And after the break, I will talk a little bit more about this. how we think now that many of, especially the pediatric and young adult tumors, actually are originating from pre-malignant clones that can be as early as pregnancy or shortly after birth, which can probably be detected in the circulating blood in many cases. And this will be the topic of my next talk in the next session. With this, I just want to summarize and hope that I could convince you that these DNA methylation fingerprints are really helpful to identify a cell of origin signature and thus very robust for tumor classification. They are becoming more and more important in neuropathology, but also other pathologies now. We really oversee this kind of change in diagnosis in 10 to 15%. But this is really in countries where we have experienced and specialized pathologists, not in countries where the prostate pathologist is looking at brain tumors, for instance. We see additional meaningful subgroup grouping and DNA copy number profiles that can be read out of this. Many more things to be discovered, so it's also a continuing research experience. Often very close correlation between a genetic hit and a molecular subgroup. And I also wanted to use this opportunity to state again that it really makes sense to spend some of the budget for a patient in an accurate diagnosis before we spend 150,000 euros to treat the patient. Just as a side note, we are currently developing these classifiers into medical products. And we have started to reach out to other places in the world that actually can adopt this and actually locally run the tests rather than sending everything abroad. And the vision is really at some stage to start earlier with this process. With this, I'll stop, skip a number of acknowledgement slides. Our group, David Jones's group, and Mia is also in the audience who is on here. Our clinical trial unit, our pathology and radiology colleagues who have really instrumentally contributed to this. So it's a really beautiful collaboration. Our collaborators all across the world, and I would warmly like to invite you to Heidelberg, where we are currently building a pediatric oncology building where all of the care and the research will be in one building, and we already have like 250 people working in pediatric oncology research now, so it's probably worthwhile at some stage to come by, and you're very much invited at any time. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dr. Pfister, and thanks for intriguing us to follow you to the second session to hear the continuation of the talk. So, but yeah, thanks. I don't think, well, I will stand between you and the break. So we'll continue after the break. So as we conclude this opening session of our Precision Medicine Forum, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to all of the good words we heard, to the insightful speech, to organizers, and specifically to you attendees. So see you after the break. Thanks.